This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved. Live. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the Canary Wharf. No, to. I can just hear Medivac's budgies. They seem to get really excited, Medivac. They seem to be deadly quiet until I turn the mics on, and then they sort of go.
It's the same thing when you want to ring somebody. It's like when you call somebody. It's like, hello.
It's just absolutely unbelievable. One of these days, I would love to see Mr. Pickle's cat jump from his screen across onto Medivac's with a budgie in its mouth.
I'll tell you what, next week I'll do it from the Finch Avery.
Yes, that would be even worse. Hello and welcome everyone. Yeah, a bit of a change tonight. We're still playing Mythras because it's just epic, but we have a new player with us, and so rather than going straight into the normal Odes campaign, we're going to play a pre-made module with pre-generated characters, so they can get a feel of the game and decide what they actually want to play in the campaign, and then we'll go back to the campaign. Chugawugga has decided that he wants to take a bit of a break, which is absolutely fine. It's not a problem at all. We will hopefully be welcoming him back when he's decided that he wants to come back, and then Gingerhead Gulliver will be back. We've arranged the Odes campaign at such a point that it's sort of like he's got something to do, and so the rest of the party can carry on and then come back to that. So it's not the usual people tonight. We have got a new member, so welcome Captain Kangaroo to the group. We're going to...
Hello.
Thank you. And we're going to start off by the players telling you who they are, but also who they are playing tonight, okay, because they've got new characters, and this will be the first time that the players have actually heard about the other characters as well. They have no idea. It was literally, they decided that it wanted to be done randomly, so I literally rolled a die and allocated them randomly. So I'll call out who's going first and next, etc, etc. So, but Mr. Pickles, you're in the prime seat now, so we're going straight to you. Can you introduce who you are and who you will be playing tonight?
Absolutely. I'm playing Freya, and I am Mr. Pickles, of course. Freya is an accomplished adventurer. Her comrades would know that she is a mercenary. She is a warrior. She loves the road and doesn't like to stay in places terribly long. She's well-traveled. She has blonde hair, blue eyes, tan skin, and she's rather compact, physically robust, and quick. She generally wears some pretty heavy armor, ring mail, and has an array of weapons she carries around on her black gelding horse.
Lovely.
And that's about all I think I should share about
Okay.
Freya.
That's absolutely fine. We will move to below you to Longshanks EPG.
I was preoccupied.
No.
Hello guys, I'm Longshanks EPG, and tonight I'm playing a very different character to normal. I'm playing Kanya. Kanya is somewhat plain looking. She has long, unkempt, wavy brown hair, very dull, like dirt brown eyes, and a normal size nose, but she's convinced it's slightly too big for her face. And she wears very poor, very, very, very poor quality cloth. Like, it's kind of like you can tell it's homespun, and somebody who did it wasn't very good at it. And to look at her, you wouldn't think money at all. You'd think poor as dirt, basically. But other than that, she's quietly confident, which is slightly off-putting.
You might be.
I'm not going to say anything else.
No, that's fine. You might be quite envious of Freya's ring mail by the end of this. So I will nip across to Medivac. Who are you playing? And who are you playing?
Well, I'm Medivac, and I'm playing a Theron, and I'm pretty sick of getting stereotyped. Theron is a very handsome man. The first thing you notice about him is he's very well dressed. His long fingers. He takes attention with what he wears and how he looks. He's very charismatic, you can say, but he's not arrogant with it. He knows what he can do. He will show you that. You'll always see him carrying a loot case over his back, fiddle case over his back, with a strap there. He's very possessive of this. He's very good with it, as a few of you will know. Again, he is tall, clean shaven. He's just awesome. This is Theron. He is the way forward. Yeah. And with that, I shall pass it on to.
Well, I think it's really interesting, Medivac, because from Hazra to Mandelbrot, you've gone from like fighter to mage, and now it looks like you've got the bard.
Yeah.
We're just trying to see what you can actually play.
I know. It feels that way. Don't go healer. Do not go healer.
Can I just say that the chat is saying, "Oh, someone has birds, do they?"
Yeah. Do you want some?
We're hopefully going to dispatch them throughout the show.
Airmail.
And finally we have our new player, Captain Kangaroo. Can I just say, Captain Kangaroo, welcome. And the chat says welcome to you as well. And they've all said welcome in the chat. So can you introduce who you are and who you're playing tonight?
I am Captain Kangaroo. Tonight I'll be playing Edimi. She is, a short, spry, kind of antisocial type, but she's pretty much able to take care of herself and knows that, so that way she pretty much has been known to be a bodyguard for a lot of people. So she's wavy, long, brown hair, dark brown eyes, really tanned, I guess, grimy skin. She's lithe and athletic, but at the same time, she can hold her own, I would say. She knows apparently a few of the people involved, but we'll see how she feels about them professionally.
Cool. Thank you very much. So, I'm really excited about this session, or these series of sessions. The players will keep these characters until we finish this adventure, and then we'll go back to the Odes campaign. I've also got some other campaigns in the fire, bubbling away. M-Space is a science fiction, sort of like adventure setting, still with Mythras rules, which I'm looking forward to. Mythras has brought out I think Medivac, you've got it as well. They did a Kickstarter called Casting Runes, which is actually Call of Cthulhu-esque thing, but set into, is it PD James, I want to say, but PR James, which is a really interesting setting. So maybe some Call of Cthulhu-esque adventures coming by. We did have one in Victorian Britain once, and this is in Edwardian time, so that'll be fun to do. And we've also maybe having some cyberpunk and etc. coming up. So, but we will be going back to Odes after this session. Okay then, so there's no synopsis, so to speak, but I have to give you some background. some background to where everybody is and how they interact with each other. So, Canna, however we're going to put say her name, she lives in the village that you can see below me. It's called Alby, Alby, and it's a small, quite bustly village. There's quite a lot of people that live and tend to the surrounding areas within the village. There are very rich farmers who sort of like harvest and sell on their wares to merchant caravans that sort of like pass through the village. It's a sort of village that everybody in the village knows everybody else, and everybody sort of like they've grown up together, they know each other, and it's a friendly village, but not a very nice village if people don't know you or have a dislike to you. And this is unfortunately where we find Canna, in the sense that she has somewhat of a strange background. People often call her that she is invested or has the power of the old ways. Nobody ever mentions what these old ways are. If anything, they tend to mutter it and sort of like quickly change the subject away from the conversation. However, Canna makes her living on the streets. Wait, Medivac. On the streets, selling people's fortunes. She casts runes or stones on the ground, and for a silver piece or so, she tells the person what will be happening in their future. And it's at this point that we actually engage with the characters for the first time, because Canna's out in the streets telling her fortunes, and darkness has started to set in around the village of Alby, and everybody is hurrying or going to the tavern, ready to share in some merriment and some drinking and some fun times. Canna, of course, is frantically trying to get enough silver together to perhaps even buy food and lodgings. But the majority of the villagers know her, have heard the stories that she tells, and are quite nastily probably ignoring her and hurrying past. And she's getting quite worried about this until Freya walks by. Freya's on the way to the tavern to meet her colleagues, the people that she adventures with. And Freya, you see Canna there selling fortune telling, saying what will actually happen in the future, and you take some pity on her maybe, and go over to her and toss her a silver coin. Canna throws the runes on the ground and looks quite puzzled and almost like confused. She's not too sure what to make of them to start off with. And then she sort of like looks up at you, Freya, and says that your path, your future, Freya, and Canna's future seem to be somewhat entwined. It's as if two pieces of string are going to come together, two pieces of yarn are coming together to form one. And Canna is able to tell you that it's going to happen soon. It's imminent. It's almost like as if it's going to happen this minute. And that's when I will stop talking and hand over to you, Freya. What would you like to say to Canna? Canna, if there's anything that you need, I'll feed it to you, don't worry.
What do you mean imminent? It's going to happen right now?
As in very soon. It could be now. It could be tomorrow, or the next morning. As in, it's very soon. Expect it soon.
Good, bad, profitable.
All of those. You can translate.
She'll look in the bones again and pause for a moment and say, everything you just said.
What magic do you perform there? What gods are you calling upon for this sort of authority?
Oh, these are just the bones. I've always been able to read them.
I see. And if this thing happens, what form might it take? Any form? A person? A monster?
It's not clear from the bones.
It's hard to say. They're normally much clearer than this. It's strange. I'm having difficulty reading them. This never happens.
Well, perhaps you might, if you're going in the same direction as I, to the tavern, based on perhaps coins on the ground, come with us, and perhaps my comrades can translate your bones, explain what they mean.
That's very kind of you, but they don't.
Yeah, you will accept it, but I agree what you're going to say about the bones.
But the bones are, if I cast them again, they might be slightly different. But also the people in the village don't really take to me, so they might. I don't want that to rub off on you.
You'll be fine with my comrades. It's not like any place is permanent.
Okay, with that, you, Freya, you sort of like take Hannah under your wing, so to speak, which is probably a bit cold and steely, thinking what you actually have on as you make your way to the tavern. When you enter the tavern, your colleagues are already sat in a corner out the way of the main hustle and bustle of the tavern. You're really here going through Albi, heading for the next major town. And it just so happens that, you put your horses and travelling wagons or whatever into storage here, and decided rather than spending the night out on the road, then you would take hostel here and spend the night in the warmth, maybe with some good ale and food, and then ready for an early start the next morning. And you see, the other two of you see Freya come in with this, what probably could be said to be a bedraggled female, but somebody who seems to have a lot of nobility. She's holding her head high despite her looks, etc. And Freya, you bring her over to the group members, and it seems to be an appropriate time for you as characters to introduce yourselves to each other, and to Kanna, and Kanna to introduce herself to the group.
Ready to go?
Who's this you brought along? Who's this? Me and Admi, and we sat here nursing our beer. We've been chatting away. But who's this you brought along? Who's this?
Took you long enough.
Well, there are needless delays in these small towns. Getting simple requests at a store, it can be difficult. And this young woman gave me an interesting fortune, if you will. I'll give you a glance, as if is that the right term, and back to my eyes.
Kanna will nod and say yes. I'm Kanna. I live in the town, and I tell fortunes for my living. And Freya has had a somewhat confusing one, and she invited me to join you to talk about it.
Right.
She said it might be profitable, and I think for our ventures, that is exactly what we want. If a fortune teller such as this can confirm that we will be getting a profitable venture, we ought to take that. That is a good omen, right?
So we're basing our income off parlor tricks. Is that what we're trying to?
Well, you know, I was thinking about the same thing, to be quite honest. But Freya knows what she knows. She's always been good in my eyes. She's just, you know, I don't believe the heebie-jeebie, but who's to say what people know is wrong or right? Let's just go for the best thing we can do.
Sure. So what's guaranteed? What's guaranteed in this adventure that we have to take? Money, riches, what?
Well, it's a fortune, and as Canna said, it's not entirely clear. So I thought I'd bring Canna with us as we drink and enjoy our merriment. And if the fortune girl is useful, then she'll be useful. If not, then a silver spent.
Yeah, our silver. All right. I'm gonna take a few more drinks because I'm not gonna do the sober, otherwise I'm gonna be really angry. So sit down, introduce yourself, and see if we want to go on this little adventure.
Well, thank you very much. What would you like to know? Is there anything in particular?
So how far are we going on this little adventure?
That wasn't told to me in the bones. I was just told that mine and Freya's for the foreseeable future, that our sort of like strings of life were to entwine, and that there would be great profit in it. But that's all I could find from them. It's very odd.
We're basing this entire adventure and all this money based on someone dreaming about strings.
And
anyone else finding
me wrong?
The will of the gods sometimes is something you don't want to go against, even if you can't understand it. I think that this fortune girl, perhaps you could try it again. You said it might not be the same.
Yeah,
Bones,
I pulled my palm out. What do you know about me? Am I gonna die tomorrow? Am I gonna? What can you say about this? What can you read on my palm?
I don't do palm readings, but she'll give you a look up and down, and then reach into her pouch and get the bones out again, and then she'll shake them and look at you in the eyes directly, and then sort of like blow on them, and then drop them on the table. I don't know if I need to roll a skill for that or not.
No. You say, I do need you to roll a skill in any case, because I need you all to roll perception rolls.
Okay.
So that should be on your character sheet in the standard skills. And so I can just see. Ooh, nice one, Freya.
Yeah, narrow success for Freya.
No, that's the best success.
Thanks.
Because it means it's right next to the actual.
Oh, that's perfect. That one.
Where on perception am I supposed to press? Is there on the far right?
They'll know better than I do. I think there's a little dice.
So yeah, there's a little button next to it. So you have the numbers.
Yeah, perception.
Right next to the numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a little button next to it.
All right.
There
Looks like a pumpkin.
So just for you, so every task is given a difficulty grade, depending, and that is very easy, standard, hard, formidable, Herculean. If there's any spell casting going on or any skills, generally all skills difficulty grading is standard, unless I specify otherwise. So I might say, okay, then you're trying to look through a storm, this difficulty will be hard. Really and truly, you only need to look at the standard roll. If it's the same or less, you succeed. If it's greater, you fail. A roll of 99 or 100 means you fumble, and a roll of less than 10% of your skill rounded up is a crit, and so things will be adjusted. The only other thing that you can say is that you can elect to take minutes over an activity, and in which case the difficulty grade goes from standard to easy. So a lot of the time spellcasters say, if they're doing a healing spell after a battle, they'll say, I'll take minutes, just so they
Like meditation and concentration, kind of. Like you're
yeah,
concentrating on the task a little more, so you're more likely
yeah,
to succeed.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
it's
But you
sort of
can't say, I'm going to throw a spear, I'm going to take minutes.
Yeah.
That's-
let me just do a quick stretch really quick.
Well, you could, but that would be
Yeah.
each combat round is like 5
Yeah,
seconds.
Hold on, let me. I need to write something down on the parchment here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys
Need to get the
stay
manual
alive.
out.
So just so you, Freya, you get 65 out of 65. Boom, that's a nice success. Theron, you get 40, which is a success. Canna, you are getting a success as well, which is nice from when you're playing Hengist.
And he never gets anything.
And Admini, Adimi, I think, is failed as well. So people who succeed, you just when this conversation is going on, you notice that there's a conversation happening at the bar between what seems to be quite a elaborately dressed merchant and the barkeeper. And they seem to be exchanging some words, and as they're exchanging words, you if you made your perception roll, you notice that there's the barkeeper sort of like keeps pointing over or signaling with his head. And as Canna rolls the runes and tells your fortune, then he's coming towards the table. But we'll hear the fortune first.
So she will study the bones very, very carefully and sort of not move them, but sort of just like put her index finger above certain as if she's reading them and sort of like noting to like the angles that they've fallen at and that sort of thing. And then she'll say, interesting. Seems that it's similar, that there is very great wealth, an opportunity coming, and you shouldn't pass it up. It could be coming tonight.
Convincing. All right. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and as this sort of like as if this merchant character is waiting for that to finish, he sort of like interrupts now, and he's quite portly, but he's almost like got that air of false riches about him. You can see that he's tried to put on a very nice robe, but it's all muddy around the bottom. He's obviously walked here. Also, you see that he's got various items of jewelry on, but it doesn't look good stuff to any of you. It almost like looks like bling. And he arrives at the table and he sort of like starts off on his spiel, almost as if you were expecting him. And he sort of like comes up and he doesn't sit down, he stands up and he says to you, my name is Bymanstrom, and apparently you are the people to be talking about if we like to get something done round here.
Sounds profitable.
Oh, very, very profitable. Yes. You 1,000 silver pieces. Would that be adequate? Oh, am I meant to tell that first or later? Hang on, just 1 second. And he reaches inside his robe and brings out a parchment. He goes, "Oh no, later. Well, yes. I suppose I can't go back on 1,000 silver pieces. Yes, 1,000 silver pieces. This is when you ask." Hang on. He takes out the scroll. What the job is?
What's the job?
Oh, well, I'm so pleased that you mentioned it. My employer, Hestris, is seeking a rather unique piece of jewelry. It's called the MacGuffin. Yes, it's quite rare and it's quite valuable. And as you can imagine, you know, when your master actually asks you to do something, then there's only one thing that you can do, and that's actually yes, obey.
Well, I think we're saying yes to everything now, so might as well, right?
To be fair, what do you want us to do? What do you need us to do for this money?
Well, I just need you to go to a nearby Broch and get the item and come back here. My master is quite insistent that it is done promptly. I think, and please do not say this outside these walls, I think he would like to make a proposal to young lady. And we have heard that this item of jewellery gives great, shall I say, and he sort of like leans further forward to you, Theron, and say, fertility.
Oh, I know what you mean. He's a bit lacking in the old oofa doofa. So
well, I wouldn't say that out loud.
Well, neither did I. You didn't hear nothing from me. So what about, why haven't you guys got it yourself? What's the problem? Why hasn't everybody just walked down there and just picked it up and brought it back?
Well, number one, it's 2 days journey from the village, and as you can see from my splendid regalia, I'm not that accustomed to.
Hey, do you know what I'm saying? Look at me. Look at my finery. I walk everywhere. I'm a beautiful man. I like to do things a special way, and I do it well.
Yes, and we're not too sure what you will find at the Broch. Yes, it might be, and he looks at you, Freya, and says, you might have to use certain skills that you possess.
You mean my tools of bloodshed? Well, let's be clear. We don't take jobs that don't involve the possibility of bloodshed.
Exactly. There'll be plenty of bloodshed. I am sure of it. Heaps of it, actually. Heaps of bloodshed just for you, young lady.
Right. So you don't know what might be guarding this this beautiful treasure, and it's just 2 days travel.
Yes. Well,
1,000 silver.
How much should I say? Right.
Should say everything.
Well, I am.
You should know what to expect.
I'm under some restrictions here, which, as you can imagine, I cannot say lots of things, but there is. I
tell you what, Michael Bay, just don't worry. You come and sit with us, have a drink, take your time, spell it out bit by bit of what we're going to do, what's there, and we'll be all happy. You just what would you like to drink? What would you like to drink? I mean, let's face it, you're away from your boss. No. Yeah, I like to stay away from these guys. I like to have a drink.
I'm not.
So, what would you like to drink?
I'm not actually away from him. He is outside, and you sort of like you glance over and you see this rather burly person, obviously some kind of not necessarily merchant. You sort of like recognize him almost as nobility, if anything else, and he stood there just inside the doorway to one side, and he's got his arms crossed over his very pectoral chest, you know, and he sort of like every time Bymanstrom looks round, he sort of like scowls and sort of like signals, and then sort of like does like this, and Bymanstrom sort of says, I have to go. Yes. Can I? All I will say to you is that the item once was in the possession of Fallon Graddoth. Yes. I'm sure. And he looks at you, Canna, and says, "I'm sure that is." His exploits are well known around here, and you notice that once he says Fallon Graddoth, you notice that some people almost like perk up and to see who said the word, and then sort of like quickly goes back to the eating. Sorry. Yeah. So if you can actually retrieve the MacGuffin, is there anything else you would like to know?
Yeah, I'd like to know what's bloody gardener thing.
Well,
You know, if it's so easy to pick it up and bring it back, why isn't it before?
Well, really.
What's the danger?
Well, this is. Well, nobody has been out there for several years. I am sure that Theron, roll a law check. I think you have a law check.
I do. Law stories.
Yeah.
Oh, don't hold your breath, but here we go. Oh.
And you've been sat pondering this name and these words and these MacGuffin, and as the minutes go on, you've sort of like been talking and trying to engage, but they've seen something's been nagging in your mind, and then it suddenly almost like comes to you that the reason you've heard of Fallon Graddoth is because he was a notoriously good fiddler. Okay. He actually, it was rumored that he had not only a fine instrument, but something that was almost like legendary. There was never a fiddle like this. Some even say that Fallon sold his soul for the instrument and to increase his talent. But you just know of this wonderful fiddler and that story, and that's what you've been thinking about all this time, thinking, why does this name...
It rings a bell. What's going on? Why rings... Yeah.
And then it suddenly sort of like clicked into place that's what you've heard. Canna, can you roll for me, please, your law check, and you can augment it with your customs if you wish. Well, you should do, yeah.
So it's...
Can you move?
Right?
Can you move your characters, by the way? Can everybody? No, you can't. Let me have to match you up.
Yeah, I got a 70 on a 56.
Right. Okay then. So you have heard something about this this Broch that he's talking about. You know, it's about 2 days ride away from this village of Albi, and you know that it has quite I think the best way to talk about it is that it has quite a reputation. The owner of it, it is rumoured in the past, has done some quite despicable things, and it's not as if he's still there. This was some time ago, and you do know that many people actually spit or curse whenever they sort of like hear Fallon's name. It's almost like it's a bit of a banned word, or almost like a bad word when people talk about him.
Okay. So Canna will share that, and she'll say, "But Brooke, that's a bad place. People don't go there. It's got a very bad reputation." I wouldn't mention his name too loud. That chap's name too loudly.
I'm sure, despite all that you will all be very good at it. And 1,000 silver pieces. Just think of that. 1,000 silver pieces. Yes, just so you know, the MacGuffin is well, it's a gold talisman, a piece of jewelry. It's like almost like an amulet, and it's about this much, this wide, and yes, it's meant to be well crafted and almost gleam with its own glory.
Honestly, I don't mind the pay.
Good.
What do you guys think? You're going to do this or no?
Well, the pay is really great, but what happened to my old mate Fallon? Because I've heard of him, and he was a pretty damn good musician from what I remember.
Oh, yes, that is what the rumors say. I myself, I think he's been, he's, but nobody has seen him for several years now.
Well, what happened? Because he seems to be saying things, and people seem to be like shrugging their shoulders and things. And I'm a man of the world, and just what's going on? People don't like him anymore.
And I think that's why I was lucky enough to find some outsiders, and you can to sort of like take this forward, because most of the people say that it's they're not keen to travel to the Broch at all. But I mean, really, it's a Broch. Just for players' thoughts, a Broch is recognizable as almost like a round house, or a round, almost like a big chimney. I'm going to show it to you what a Broch. You should be able to see it now.
Right.
So it would actually, it looks like it would just have one door, and then it could have different floor levels inside, with the staircase going round the outside. It's never anything that is quite fancy. Sometimes they're amazingly high, but are totally high right up to the ceiling, if that makes sense. It's like a big chimney pot. What they were used for, you're not quite sure. People talk about them about being burial sites, and all sort of like places where families would be, once they died, would be housed in. Some people even look at it as some kind of ancient house where it was built for the chieftain, due to its prowess and being so high and noble. But apart from that, you know what they look like, but that's about all.
Okay.
Well, I certainly think it's a venture I'd be interested in. Canna, you're going to be staying with me, right? Fates intertwined.
That's what fate says, and as long as you're happy for me to join.
Do you have a horse?
I do not.
Thought not. Might be able to ride with one of us.
Well, tell you what, Freya, if you're keen, I'm keen.
All right.
Then we'll take your job for the 1,000 silver pieces.
Oh, thank you so much.
Each.
And he brings out a little pouch and pops it on the table. That's 500 now. Do you know, I said to my master that you wouldn't. He said, expect some haggling. I mean, I knew you were good sorts. There was no need for haggling. Once I saw you, I knew you would just take the first offer. You are so good. Yes. So, yes, 2 days. Well, shall we say this time next week? That'll be fine. Okay, then. It's been lovely speaking to you. I need to go, and when you return, I will give you my master will give you the remaining 500 silver pieces. Oh, and one point. Hang on. And he reaches inside and he opens. He says, and he reads as he says as he reads the parchment. Do not try to cross me, because I will get very angry. Yes, sorry, that's not me. Yes. So yes, it's been lovely.
Who's saying that? Who's putting aspersions on my honour?
Well, I think it's just something.
Do you know who I am?
A
I'm
stranger.
Theron, and I play a beautiful, beautiful fiddle. And people do not ever call me a blackguard.
I'll pass it on to
Yeah,
my
you
master.
make sure you do.
I will
Because
do.
one thing we do have is honor. If you can't have honor in this world, what can you have?
I totally and utterly agree.
Yeah, so you tell him to come over here and say thank you for taking the job and sorry for what I said.
I apologize. It's probably my fault. Completely, but I will pass the message on. Yes.
I might just take his 500 silver pieces just for compensation for besmirching my honour.
Whatever you wish to do with the party's money is completely up to you, noble man. If you wish to keep it, then it's just between you and your party here.
Well, not deprive my party of this money given. We will share it equally.
Well, good luck. Good luck to a week. Yes, thank you. And he sort of like bows and takes a couple of steps backwards, stands on his robe and stumbles slightly, but manages to rectify himself by grabbing hold of the local barmaid in a very inappropriate place, who then she tosses the tray up in the air with several tankards of ale going all over the place, turns around, promptly slaps the merchant across the face, who sort of like stumbles again, and then sort of like eventually reaches this guy who was in the doorway and sort of like says, and as he approaches this guy, just sort of like clips him around the ear and around the head, and they both leave. And as the barmaid shouts obscenities and says, "If you do that again, I'll have your hands. I tell you, I'll have them." And the tavern guy sort of like comes up and says, "Is everything all right here?" "Oh yes, he just touched me in the most unbelievable place." "Well, yes. Well, I mean, get a mop and sweep up this ale. Be coming from your wages." And the after the excitement, everything sort of like calms down somewhat. Canna, can you make me a locale check, please?
There it is. I got an 81 on a 38.
Are you looking
Standard.
at?
I am not. No.
Okay then. So you start to ponder where this Broch is, and you know that it's. You think you know the route there. It's you follow the trail, for X amount of time, and then you take off and you go through a wood, and then at the end of the wood is the Broch, and that's you are quite confident that you actually know the way. Would anybody like to do anything before? I'm assuming that you will set off with all your provisions, that you can buy horses, etc., or wagons, whatever you want, and you can do all that. But does anybody else want to do anything else before you set off tomorrow morning?
Hopefully she get a good night's sleep is pretty much, so that way I'm not going with a major hangover or anything.
Yeah. And you're sort of like, there's some nice beds in this inn, and you're already paid up to stay at the inn. Just to let you know, Theron, people, there has been several requests over the days that you actually serenade the...
I was going to do exactly that in a minute.
Yes.
Well, not serenade, but I was going to play.
Yeah, go for it. Let's see whether or not your tune is absolutely brilliant. So what we'll do here, you will roll your skill for your musicianship. And do you have sing as well, or just musicianship?
No, I kind of have sing.
Yeah. Okay then.
Well, he gets. You'll see Theron get a little bit flustered when the barkeep asks him maybe if he can sing, and he'll be like, "Well, singing, and maybe I can do a song or two." But
do you have an oratory skill?
I do.
because you could therefore, rather than singing, you could actually tell a tale.
Ah.
That you sort of like go, long ago, bring, bring.
Oh, yeah.
There lived a king, bring, bring. You know, something like that. So what you need to do is that you need to decide which skill you're going to roll and augment it with the other skill. So remember, an augmentation, all you do is you find 20% of the skill, rounding up. And so I know you know Medivac. I'm just talking
sorry.
Captain Kangaroo and the stream.
Yep.
So if you just find 10%, then double it, halves or decimals round up, and then you just add that to your overall skill level. So which one are you going to go for, Theron? Are you going to go for oratory?
I'm going for oratory, yes, and augment that with my sing.
Okay.
My sing is at 28, so that would be 6 even.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's put on my temp of 6. Oh gosh, here we go. Do you want my musicianship as well, or just sing?
So you're using your main one and augmenting it with the other one.
Okay. I'd like to use a luck point because he's feeling jovial. He's feeling fun.
To re-roll it.
Re-roll it, yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh! And that is why.
So, Captain, if you get a star, that means it's a critical roll. So he actually got a crit on his standard thing. So you sort of like start off, you go.
No, I've got it. There was a princess of beauty so deep. She came to me, but not to sleep. And it goes off from there.
I think due to this being a family show, we'll start. Obviously,
stop it there.
Can I just say that I think you've gathered some confidence from Sephrod.
I know.
You're not worried about having money for more ale, so you got, now you're just gonna play it out. I get it.
Play my heart out.
So just to let you know, people are really impressed by your storytelling and your strumming away, and they're so impressed that they start to give you silver.
That's what I was hoping for.
There might be something that looks like a piece of tin in your bag or whatever, but you sort of like you see as you sing, and you do realize the majority of the clientele in this place are drunk. And so the odd one puts 2 silver pieces in or something like that. You do notice one person puts 2 pieces in and then thinks again, reaches down and takes one out.
Takes a tin one out.
Yeah, but by the end of your serenade in your song, you're actually, would you believe it, 12 silver pieces up. And and the tavern owner comes over to you and says, anytime you would like to do that again, good sir, I'm willing for you to use my tavern for the normal rental price.
Well, we'll see. Do you know what? When I get back, we'll see. I can do some lovely renditions, some little ditties and things, get the guys laughing, get the gills. Do what the gills do. So we'll see.
I think that would be a good idea. Although in this part of town, we normally ask permission, and of course, some of the as you understand, these are my clientele, and a lot of my money that was going in for beer and ale seems to have ended up in your cap.
Well, do you know, that's a funny thing but if they're paying for me to stay here and sing, they're going to be paying for beer to watch me to sing. That's the most important thing. That rhymes. I'm a rhymer.
You don't know it. No,
that's
a different rhyme, isn't it?
that big guy that came in earlier, he hired us to do something, and I think he's a lovely guy. Is he the boss of this town?
I think we could come to some arrangement in the future. If you would like to, serenade my clientele again, I'm sure we can come to and I'm always looking, and he leans towards you, Theron, and this smell of almost like maggot breath comes from his rotting teeth and everything. And he says, I'm a fair man, I am, and I'm sure we could do well. And then he shouts, Daisy! Daisy! Stop fraternising with the locals. And he says, oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, she just likes to, try to get an extra piece of silver, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And he's
I'll clap on the back and I'll go, I totally know what you mean there. Oh my God, is that right?
Yeah. And when you clap on the back, you notice that your hand hits a sort of like tunic, and which is quite damp. And when you sort of like move it away, the tunic sort of like comes with you a bit. And it's a sort of like
that Velcro.
Yeah. And you almost like hear like that as it pulls itself away from the sweaty bat. Would anybody else like to do anything before setting off tomorrow morning?
Yes.
Yes, go for it.
Freya wants to, while everybody else is doing their own thing, and after we've sat at the table for a while, try and mingle with the locals to ask questions about the Broch. And the questions in particular that she wants to know most about is, one, what kind of treasures might be there? And two, what kind of monsters or bandits might be there, threats. Would you like an influence roll, perhaps?
Yes, if that's what you would like to use.
I think that's the only logical thing. And I'm probably going to need to use a point of luck, but here we go. Can I use a point of luck to reroll?
Yes, you can, Fred.
Just only reverse it.
You could probably take minutes over this to sort of like get them to sort of like talking, maybe buy them a few extra ales. There's a wonderful group of tables that seem to be made up of the elderly. They've probably got, there's about 3 or 4 of them, and they've probably got one tooth between them all. They're not sharing it, but obviously dental hygiene is not the best in Albi at all. And yeah, so you get to talking, and the first thing that you notice is that they are very, they don't like Fallon at all. There's definitely this sort of like despise over the family. You do get the following points of information that I will assume that you will share with the party at a later date. Yeah. So basically, the Graddoth family were actually quite distantly related to the ruling clan, and so they held considerable power over the land. But Fallon, his reputation led to him almost like squandering the assets, and he had a reputation for being peculiar and unreliable, and a lot of the time quite distant, and this led to him being stripped of his title. And as he got stripped of his title, he almost like withdrew into the Broch, and he seems to have this reputation for collecting things, and they talk about things like he would always grab something. He was only looking for this and looking for that and looking for this and looking for that. And there are some reports of his servants and a son visiting the local village on errands, but they haven't been seen for ages. If Fallon is still alive, he would be considerably old now, but nobody has seen him or heard anything from the Broch, and everybody gives it a very wide berth. A lot of people, one of the old men sort of like says, yes, even the animals don't go close to that Broch. And you get this almost like this feeling that there's something quite strange about it. There are some other things that you hear. You hear some other things that make you quite interested. The first thing is they talk of a fabled weapon that Graddoth has as a heirloom, and they sort of like talk about it because Fallon was a keen collector. He's meant to have within his Broch this fabled legendary weapon. What it is ranges, and some first person says it was a sword, and the next person says no, it was not a sword, it was an axe, like this. But they seem to be quite determined that there was definitely a fabled weapon. There's also some belief about lost riches in the Broch, in the sense that all this collection that Fallon did, it actually led to a huge amount of wealth stored actually in the Broch, and even to the point that they talk about lost lore, things that were known decades and centuries ago that have been forgotten. And one of them says, oh, so what would that be then? And another one says, well, we have forgotten, we do not know what's in there. And they sort of like continue to sort of like discuss it. The whole Graddoth family has almost like fallen into disrepute, it sounds like. But, you know, even when you mention things about, you know, going there, they sort of like, you don't go there, don't go there. Oh, strange things happen in and around that Broch. Not the best place to be, especially at night. And you sort
What
of like,
happens?
That's all they sort of like communicate. It seems to be almost like an old wives' tale that has sort of like being passed down over the ages, and it's almost like somebody else goes, yeah, that's right, never go at night. Oh yes, never go at night, no matter
Don't
what.
stray off the path.
Yeah, never go at night. It's not very nice.
It's an interesting fact.
Thank you. I tried.
Old men are kind of scaring me now. I'll of course give them beer, and after getting as much as I can, Freya will turn in for the night and prepare to tell everybody all this information in the morning.
Yeah. Okay then. And in the end, the weapon was a stick with which he poked the eyes of his enemies, and everything has simply been just an exaggeration.
The mighty stick.
Bunny Box, stop spoiling the adventure by putting it in the chat. Okay, anybody else wish to do anything before leaving?
Yes, I'd like to use a stick because this is nigh invulnerable.
Should we all make sure we get horses and everything? I don't know if that's guaranteed that we have that.
Yeah, so it's
Theron is assuming that he and his two lady companions have horses already.
yeah. Everybody will have horses, and
Okay.
Canna, you can probably ride behind Freya. Sort of like Freya's got quite a sturdy horse, not unlike herself.
Very kind.
And you know, you can probably hold round her metallic waist and set off.
Bum, 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 bum.
Okay then.
All right.
So
I think we're all ready.
you decide to set off quite early in the morning, mainly because you want to travel there over the next couple of days, and you want to try to kind of know where it is and where to go. And it's almost like she wants to time it so you don't actually arrive there in the morning. You arrive there in the morning and not on the night, if that makes sense. And you sort of like set off and you go along the road, and then you turn off and go through the forest. And due to the locale roll failing, it kind of gets you there, but instead of getting you there in a morning, they get you there just as darkness falls, and you are quite amazed by what you actually see, because as you come out of the wooded forest, there seems to be a clearing, and it's not a Broch as the picture that you actually thought.
Mhm.
It's almost like a house, like a cube, but on each of the corners there is a turreted tower, a circular tower rising up on either side, each of the corners, and then a sort of like a normal size house in the middle. You do notice that as you come out of the forest into it, the first thing that you notice is the complete lack of sound. There is absolutely no bird noises, no sound of animals scattering, or there's no birds flying over the Broch or anything. All the windows that you can see appear to be shuttered, and there's no light coming from it at all. There's creeping vines all over the place. This has been left like this for a huge amount of time. You sort of like step out of the forest, and you notice that the garden around it is all unkempt. It hasn't been gardened for, you think, probably decades, maybe even years. You know, there seems to be the majority of weeds, and as you look around, you can see what used to be statues, and the statues are off the plinth, and the plinth is completely covered with ivy and other climbing plants. But there is something even more off-putting. Well, two things. The first thing, as you've got closer and closer to the Broch, you've all had this unnerving feeling. You started off with it and probably mentioned it. You almost like felt as if you were being watched, and the rest of you probably sort of like poo-pooed the idea to start off with and say, don't be silly. But as you got closer and closer to the Broch, you have found yourself almost like looking and feeling that there are eyes on you, and you sort of like keep looking quickly. Can you make for me an insight roll?
All of us?
Yes, please. Da, da, da. Okay. Yeah.
I'll use a point of luck to reverse mine.
Yeah. Is it nice
Thank
having
you.
luck?
It is nice having luck. I don't normally have luck.
No. So Freya, are you using any luck?
No.
No. Okay then. Can I use a point of luck to change it? Medivac. You succeed. And Captain Kangaroo, you'll probably succeed. The thing that you notice is that when you quickly turn your head, you're not too sure, but you can swear that there's almost like a set of red eyes, animal height, gazing at you, and it's almost as if you catch it and the eyes close but never open again, if that makes sense. And you sort of like catch it. Anybody who made their insight roll catches it. I mentioned that there was two things. The other thing is, as you approach the Broch, you're far away from it at the moment. On one side seems to be a massive, what would appear covered in weeds now, some kind of vegetable patch you notice that there's some vegetable plants in rows. And you can see that at one time it used to be quite prolific in producing vegetables, but the potato plants are all overgrown. The peas have sort of like broken away from their wooden frames and sort of like crawling all over the place. And that seems very strange, but it's what's on the other side which seems to be stranger, because there seems to be this area that is not overgrown with weeds, and it looks as if somebody is keeping it well kept and keeping the weeds off it. And what you notice there is some plain grass, but a number of gravestones. There's about 6 of them in altogether, and they seem to be placed in 2 in a row, if that makes sense, and they sort of like stand out quite clearly. What would you like to do, if anything?
I do have one question. Difference between perception and insight.
Insight would be when you're judging whether or not somebody's telling a lie or something like that, or when you're trying to figure out. So it works a little bit. I use it a lot like luck in Call of Cthulhu, if you've played that. So if, for example, the party is totally stuck, I might say roll an insight and I can see you get. But mainly it's for when people are telling lies, which I think is the same as 5e as well. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As we approach, I guess I'm going to make sure I have my daggers out just in case those beady red eyes appear again. And I'm probably will try to. I'm going to roll a perception check to see if I notice any, like, as we approach, any maybe traps or something, even just for hunting traps or whatnot. Just make sure we're not messing around too much. Is that all right?
Do you have any skill that would help you with that, so we can use it for example, if Hazra was doing it, Hazra has a skill of hunting or tracking or something like that. So do you have any skill that you can use to augment your perception roll?
Oh, actually, yeah, let's see. Sorry. Where are you? Not magic.
If not, just roll your perception.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I don't know for sure. If I look at, like, I have a binding skill. That's about all I know for sure. But I don't know if that's actually anything.
So that's to do with spell casting.
Got it. Okay. I'll just roll for the perception check.
Yeah. Yeah, so you will have on your character luck points. So there's 3 ways you can use luck points. You can either use a luck point to reverse the digits in a row. Okay.
Got it.
And you can either use that for you or for me as the GM. So you can ask me to swap them around. You can use luck to re-roll altogether. And you can do the same with me as well. You can use a point of luck and say, GM, I would like you to re-roll that. And the final thing you can use luck for is that you can take your wound level from a major wound down to a serious wound. The difference between those two is that major wounds probably mean that your arm has been sliced off, and the serious wound means that it's just wounded very badly.
Got it.
And so so you got 39 out of 24. So luck points they refresh at the beginning of every adventure. So you've got your luck points for all this session.
Episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
episode. Okay.
Again,
yeah.
We'll
Correct.
have
exactly
points again.
All right.
So you got 39 out of 24. Do you want to use a luck to roll it again? There would be no good reversing that roll.
Yeah. No, the 93 will be pretty Not good. All right. Yeah, I'll use it one more time just in case. Maybe I can save one of you guys if we happen to run into something.
Okay then.
So
Use a point to look, knock it off, and roll again if you will.
come on. No.
Oh, okay, so
I want the off direction.
So you
would
sort
like
of
to do something when we have a moment.
okay.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
you sort of like look around, and the one thing that you do notice is that it looks, you can't see any traps or anything, but it looks as if nobody has been through this place in
Wow.
decades. You
Got
know,
it.
there's no sort of like indentations when the weeds have been pressed down or anything. The only thing that is completely different is this graveyard.
Graveyard. All right.
Yeah, long chance. Yeah.
So Canna would, she's going to do this quietly. Freya, if Freya's listening intently, she might hear. But Freya, Canya's going to use that witch sight. She would like to use witch sight, so I'll just ping that in the chat.
Yeah.
Which site?
Yeah.
So-
and then I'll roll my folk magic,
magic, yeah.
skill as
Look
well.
at Mr. P being all jealous.
Yeah.
So I got a 5 on a 40 standard.
Yeah, nice. So you lose the magic point if it had been a crit. You could. Yeah, it's where. But what are you? Is there any specific place that you would like information on?
She wants to sort of like glance over everything, but she's focusing on sort of like the vines and the graveyard, that sort of area.
Okay then.
Because it's striking her as really odd, and she knows the background, and she knows it's a really sort of like odd place.
Yeah.
There's no animals and that sort of thing, so she's never been. She's trying to find out
Okay then.
what's going on.
The general grounds provide no magic at all. There's nothing magical in there, not one little bit. The graveyard, however, is non-magical as well. It looks completely mundane. The Broch, or however it, we call it a Broch even though it doesn't look like a Broch. The Broch, however, seems to be magical.
She'll take a slight intake of breath of that.
The whole building seems to be magical. There seems to be this almost like this low background hum of power.
So kind of in a low voice after sort of like taking a breath, and she'll whisper to Freya and say, "It's the Broch. It's giving off a huge aura of there's great power in there. We should be careful."
Careful. Good to know. Comrades, we best hesitate before we go in here. Should we perhaps make camp and search this building in the morning when there's light about?
Probably best.
Freya, that is a wonderful, really good suggestion. So let's just hop off into the forest a bit, find a nice place to camp, stay there till the morning. We can come back and have a look around. Now, on a side note, have you changed maps since we started? Because I haven't changed mine.
Say again, sorry?
In Wills. Have the maps changed from the village since we started?
No, it's still got the village up.
Right, so that's fine. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, so let's camp until morning, because that lady in the town where you spoke to said, don't go there at night. And I'm a big fan of not going places I don't know at night. So let's not do that.
Should we take turns staying up?
As we always do.
We always do. Okay. All right.
Well, you girls do. I just go to sleep. No, I'm joking. I do take my turn.
Okay. So you I'll presume that you all take your turn at watching. All you need to do in a second, I'll ask you what order you want to go in. The other thing that I need to know: are you creating a fire or not?
I presume that we were.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Freya has some survival skill.
That was going to be one of my questions. So you roll, Freya, if you roll your survival skill, Don't worry, you won't burn the forest down, but I just want to see how well it's done.
Oh, I'm sorry, Forrest. Don't die.
You want to look it?
I only have 1 luck left, so I think I'm going to hold on to it.
Yeah, so you get a very hearty fire going. It's almost like reminiscent of some kind of bonfire or funeral pyre, you know. So it's you sort of like you make a lovely pyramid, and there's flames going up, and nobody can get close. You have to, a bit like social distancing with the fire. There's so much heat coming off it. You're sort of like stood back, and people got extra long sticks to sort of like roast their bits of meat or marshmallows on, or whatever you're eating. And there's sort of like this, you happen to put on something that's quite leafy, and so there's this pungent smell and this black thick smoke going up, and you're sort of like, good fire. It looks absolutely fantastic. So can you just type in the chat who's going first, second, third, fourth for your so I got that.
I was hoping to go first, stoking the fire, making sure it keeps blazing through the night.
So Freya's first.
I'll go second, I think.
Okay.
This chat, right?
That's it in there. Okay.
Yeah.
You okay with third, Count?
Yeah. That's
then.
fine.
So you settle down, and throughout the evening, you're doing one of two things. Throughout the night, you're either watching, which does not matter at all, or you're trying to sleep. And whenever you sort of like close your eyes to try to sleep, you get this. Your dreams are haunted by almost like nightmares and hideous creatures and roaming monsters, and you feel that every time you close your eyes, you're suddenly brought back into the real world. And several times when people are on watch, you suddenly get a jolt as somebody, one of the other parties, sort of like sits up, almost like instantly bolt upright, as if to think, what is happening there? You do see in the dreams, everybody sees these mutilated bodies with multiple limbs and different heads, and almost like a body of a person with goat legs and snakes for arms, and sort of a lion like for a head, and they all seem to be tearing people apart or hitting people or beating people. So as you might have known from the previous snoring escapade, I would like you please to roll your endurance roll. Okay, it is going to be easy because it's not the height of battle.
Did we see any centipedes?
No.
That's right then. That's good. I've got this.
Good old centipedes.
No, I haven't. It's a human. Oh, wow. Awesome.
Just to let you know, that'll be your best roll forever. You only get one of those. You only get one of those once. Okay then.
Don't get attached to your character.
Yeah. So Freya, you're absolutely fine. Canna, are you doing anything with your?
No.
Well, okay. So you are now. You have a fatigue level. You are one level fatigued, so you'll now be winded.
Yep.
Until say otherwise. Theron?
No, because I was going to say winded. Yes, and I was like, no, he wouldn't have done it. No.
Okay,
no.
So you.
So I'm winded.
You'll also be winded.
Yep.
And the critical roll. You're as fresh as a daisy the next morning.
That was an easy night.
Yeah, you probably got to sleep and this sort of like
best night ever.
Just snored my way through the entire night.
Freya's campfire sort of like died down about 2 minutes before sunrise. It's just been blazing all through the night. It's
There's
really,
animals all spread around that have incinerated.
yeah, no, some trees are actually blackened, and where the canopy came over the top, there's now sort of like a chimney, as it's just sort of like burned everything away. Best campfire ever.
We leave our mark.
Yeah.
Super comfortable.
So you grab your rations and eat something, and probably leave the horses here tethered.
Yeah.
You know, in the forest. You'll probably have to tether them, because otherwise they does anybody have like an animal handling skill or anything like that?
Sort of.
Tell me what sort of is.
I got craft animal husbandry as a professional skill.
Oh yeah, give me a roll.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's something. The animals seem very much uneasy. They almost like seem to be spooked every 5 minutes, you know, and you just get them calm again, and then another one sort of like whinnies and flays its hoofed legs in the air, but they do tug at their tether, but they seem to be well tied up here. What is the plan now? To go into the house?
Yes, and we should be swift about it for our horses' sake.
Yeah.
Okay, so you walk down the path, and you see everything seems to be as normal. You know, all the vegetable patch and the weeds are on one side, the graveyard's on the opposite side, and you come up to the door.
Before we go in, can I go have a look at the gravestones, if you don't mind?
Ooh. If you wish. I just need to know one thing. While you are looking at the gravestones, what's everybody else doing at that point?
I brought my shield and sword, of course, so I'm kind of standing at attention in case any of these monsters from the dreams are real things.
Okay, so are you staying on the path then?
Yes, and watching vigilantly from the path.
And what about
I'll be on the path as well.
Okay.
I'll be kind of just staring at the building itself.
Yeah.
Seeing the best way to go in and all that. See if there's windows or anything, or is it just gonna be one door, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And what about you, Canna?
Canna will be slightly behind Freya. So she's got her haversack, but she's got a walking stick which sort of like comes up to about mid chest height, and she's holding that, but sort of like her knuckles are either dead white on it, and then sort of like she's relaxing it and then sort of tapping it slightly. No, she's very nervous.
Okay.
This is completely out of the norm for her. So she's either very like tense and staring at everything, sort of like jumping around, her eyes jumping around everywhere, or she's sort of like relaxing her hands because she's realizing she's over tensing and she's trying to act cool.
Okay then. So then when you go over to the graveyard, it definitely looks as if somebody's keeping an eye on it. But roll for me a perception check. A lot of the gravestones are sort of like weathered and ruined, but if you get a good perception check,
I'll take my time. Can I take a minute over it?
If everybody else is happy about that. There's two pieces of information that you can actually notice. Although there's a lot of other names, there is not one that says Fallon at all. So you've looked at them all, and the ones you can see do not have the word Fallon on them. But there is the newest stone seems to hold the name Cyrul, Sirul, and it's quite clear on it. This seems to be the most recent of the gravestone. As you approach the as you're looking at the house, Captain Kangaroo, when you're sort of like looking at it, there seems to be what can only be called as a double door in front, and it's just when you start to look at everything else, there's something quite wrong, and you suddenly get the get this feeling that there's something strange about the windows. And some of them seem to be a little bit crooked.
Okay.
And you can probably tell more if you go closer. But from this distance, they just look crooked. You can pass that to the rest of the party if you wish.
All right. This building looks terrible, guys. I don't know. Everything about this is just off. You guys notice the windows, how they're a little crooked? Anyone?
Now that you mention it.
Yeah, you can mention.
Yeah.
Weird.
Anna said that there was something going on here, something related to the fortunes.
It's the whole Broch is throwing power, magic. There's something very strong with us inside, very, very, very powerful.
I'm going to shout out to Theron if you're going to ask, are you going to take all day or are we going to continue?
Sorry, my dear. I was just having a quick look at these stones over here, because you never know. You might find their friend poking out the earth. So yeah, I'll walk back over to the ladies. And yeah, we'll head to the door. We'll go to the door.
So as you walk closer and closer to the Broch, one of the things that you suddenly realise why the windows look strange, because one of them is literally hanging off, and it looks like the building has no windows. It seems to be that somebody has crafted almost like a frame with some shutters on it, and sort of like placed it onto the wall, and that's why you saw one of them a little bit crooked. So there's a set of big doors, really big, and they look really thick and, sturdy. They've got those wrought iron bands down them to sort of like strengthen it. But you suddenly notice that any windows that you saw before, probably the reason that no light was coming out is because the whole building, all the windows seem false, as if somebody is trying to present something to outside people, but really and truly it doesn't have that. The double doors are closed.
All right, so this is weird. Whoever made this maybe had a secondary thought of adding light to their house. So how are we gonna go this? Should we, two of us, grab each door, swing it open, and get ready for whatever's inside? Or what?
So it seems to be the fairest option. It doesn't seem like anybody lives here, so I don't think there'll be much purpose or dignity in knocking.
Well, it's true that, because there's no lights or anything, so let's just open the doors and two on the inside.
All right, two of us grab one door each. We're gonna swing open the other two. We'll get ready for whatever pops out. All right.
Okay, so if you could decide who you're going in partners with, and then use one person's brawn roll and augment it with the second person's brawn skill. So
I already have my shield and sword out, so hands are so taken
I'll
out.
be one of the polars then.
Okay then. So who's Canna? Are you doing anything, or are we just letting?
Canna will help. She probably won't be able to do any pulling though.
Okay, well, I will try to draw on it on the other door.
Okay then.
Okay.
But it's not going to work, and I'll use Canna's help if possible.
So you get an extra 5 points. Then.
Oh, thank you.
Okay then.
That makes so much difference.
So roll your brawn skills.
All right.
And I'll be like, Canna.
Medevac can die, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it? No.
We're going to roll. Okay.
We're gonna do it. Yeah, Medevac. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
let's do it. 3, 2, 1.
Go.
Oh.
Shakalaka.
So an exclamation mark means that you.
I get both ends. Remember my last roll was literally.
So you
I'm
sort of,
testing both sides.
you sort of like grab hold of one of the doors. They're sort of probably like a big circular hook, and you sort of like grab hold of it and you brace yourself and you yank it with all your might, and your hands slip on the wrought iron ring, and you step backward and sort of like promptly fall on your behind as you land on the floor. And as that's happening, Theron, you just quietly pull open the other door.
Yeah.
You know, as if it wasn't difficult
Did you know this one wasn't even locked? It just opened. Just did this by itself. Are you all right, my love? Or do you your hand up? You okay? You did by yourself?
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. Leave me alone.
I'm fine.
I
know how you feel.
Good. I'm good.
Sometimes I fall on my butt.
It's muddy. It's muddy, and it is raining. Yeah, it's.
You'll dry off. Don't worry about it. Equal rights. It's fine.
I get up and we'll start wiping myself off.
Yeah, and you sort of like look in, and there seems to be inside. There seems to be a grand entrance hall. There seems to be a table in the middle. There seems to be a hearth over one side. There's a few stick holders down the side. Everything looks that as the door opens, there's sort of like a whoosh of musty air that comes out. You don't think these doors have been opened in a good long time. You can actually see that some of the vines have actually grown over them. And inside it is dark. Once the light from the doorway goes a certain distance, but you can't see anything inside apart from what appears to be an entrance hall.
Candelabras.
And it's sort of like, and they're on sticks though, on stands, not hanging from the roof.
Yeah.
Got it. Do we happen to have any like torches or anything on us?
If it's on your character sheet, you do.
Character sheet. All right. Just want to verify.
I'm quite happy for one of you.
I have a torch.
There you go.
Yeah.
Which I'll pass off to somebody else because hands are full.
Happily take the torch.
Kind could probably be torch holder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Give it to the magic user.
You get one job,
torch.
don't fall.
Okay, are you going in or not?
I've got a fire maker.
Yes. And
I'm a fire maker. I'm a fire maker.
Sorry.
Say again, sorry, Fred.
I am the fire.
I was going to lead in with my shield and sword and have Canna hopefully behind me with the torch.
Yeah.
Okay.
She'll be holding it up. So in one hand, in her left hand, she's got the torch, and in her right hand, she's got her walking stick, which is starting to look like she's holding it like a club.
Brilliant. So
the one thing you'll notice about Theron is now he is fingering and holding his battle axe.
Nice.
It's there. It's in his hand.
Nice.
If you were going to mention Grandma's hole, then I was going
to... Do you know what? I almost mentioned Grandma's hole earlier, but I bit my tongue.
Okay, good. So just before we go for our 10-minute break, you step inside the hallway, and as the last person steps through, the doors quite by themselves slam resoundingly behind you, and there's sort of like the noise of it sort of like echoes around the hallway, and down to one side, obviously coming down some kind of corridor towards the hallway, you see the flicker of candlelight, as if somebody is moving down the corridor carrying a candle.
Someone did Medivac. Someone did shut the front door.
Shut the front.
And we will leave it there. We always take a 10-minute break. So it's 1:45 now. We will be back at 5 to the hour. Thank you for coming along and joining us. Do come back and see what happens to the characters once they're in the Broch. Well, they're in the Broch, but what will
We're
happen
all
next?
doomed.
You had no idea. So please go away, stretch your legs, grab a drink, grab some snacks, and be back in 10 minutes. 5 to the hour. We will be back. See you all soon. And And we are back. The party have just ventured inside the Broch. They got inside the big hall and they seen somebody coming down from one of the corridors, carrying a candle or light shining through, and the doors behind them, the big huge doors, just closed and clicked shut. So just to remind you, in this hall, there is a large hearth, but it doesn't. It's cold. It's almost like bleak. There seems to be no fire lit in there at all, probably for quite a while. As you look up, you can't see the ceiling with your torch light that kind of you're holding. It's either the ceiling is incredibly large and high, or your light's not powerful. You can also see now, as well as the long massive table and the chairs, you can also see that on the table, and this wasn't visible that long when you were outside, it's only when you've come in that you notice that the table is set for banquet. But the other thing that you now notice as you look at the plates and the big platters in the middle of the table, the food is still there, but it's all decayed, covered in mold, all sort of like rotten. And you suddenly realize that was the musty smell that you smelt as you came in. You can see down at one side, there's opposite the fire, there's like a tapestry hanging down, and then round the outside are these stands that break out into three candlesticks holders, and the candles are there, but they're all burnt down as if they've been there for a long time. And so and you can just see this candlelight coming down the corridor. What would you like to do?
Is the candlelight coming towards us or away from us?
Definitely, it seems to be coming from a side passage into the Great Hall.
Got it. All right. So we'll eventually cross paths perpendicular with it.
Yeah, unless you go back outside the door. It looks like it's coming into the hall.
Theron wants to find like a table or the center table to hide, and he's going to say, get everybody, just, he'll whisper this, he'll be like, just get down and hide. Let's see what the thing is first before we decide what we're going to do.
I just got visions of Freya with a ring mail and a big sword.
Snuckle now.
Just a bit.
I'm a tortoise.
I can't see you. You can't see me. Therefore, I'm not here.
So, Theron, you're suggesting to Freya that she hides?
My guess is that since we're comrades, we've adventured before. It's probably along the lines of Freya.
Hunker in a corner. Yeah.
Freya is the distraction, and Theron might hide or tell others to hide.
Yes.
Okay.
I concur. I'm going to sheath my my blades and take out my slingshot, and hide behind something if there's something that can hide me.
Okay.
I'm not too big.
So, we got two, Medivac and Captain, you're hiding. Freya, you're
bracing,
and kind of what?
Hannah's standing like a pace or two behind Freya because she's thinking, I've got a torch. There's no point me hiding.
Yeah,
I can't hide. I'm holding a torch.
Okay then. So, if you're hiding, roll me a stealth check if you have one.
Good.
Medivac's 43.
Yeah.
All you can hear is Theron going, I'm a tree, I'm a tree, I'm a tree, I'm a tree, I'm a tree.
So you sort of like both sort of like quickly crouch down behind something, and you the other two are sort of like looking at them as the light from your torch sort of like casts shadows over to one side. And as the two of them are hiding, Freya and Canna, you see a rather gaunt man. You think it's a man. He's almost like he's bent hideously. He seems to be shuffling rather than walking. His face is lit up by the candlelight, and it's completely gaunt. His skin is pale. His eyes seem to be almost like vacant and wild. And this sort of like startled look is mirrored in his wild hair that he has. And you can see that he seems to be holding a candle within a candle holder, if that makes sense. And it's sort of like lighting up his arm, and his fingernails are sort of like quite long, and one seems to be snapped off. His clothes are shabby, unkempt. They seem to be dirty. They seem to be fraying in a whole load of places. And as he sort of like shuffles in, he seems to be walking across to the table when he notices you, Freya and Canna, sort of like stood there, and he says, "Oh, don't mind me, don't mind me." And he sort of like comes over and he reaches down and picks up what appears to be a mouldy, rotten apple. And he sort of like picks it up and sort of like smells it and sort of like takes a chunk out of it and goes like that, and everything. So the apple sort of like disintegrates round, and he ends up just sort of like pushing it into his mouth, and he sort of like says, "Oh, hello, welcome to my abode."
Thank you for the welcome. I am Freya of the Graph people, and I was unaware that there were people living here.
Oh, only me and my sister live here. Servants! Can't get good help at all nowadays. Servant! And a bit of rotten apple sort of like fires out from his mouth. I think they might have retired. Or have they gone to market? Servants? Or maybe they've done, maybe they've done both. Well, he says, I have work to do. Just show yourselves around.
Oh, what is your name, sir?
My name is... Here's my name.
Or your sister's name?
I had my sister's name. Oh, that's a lot easier. It's... and he sort of like takes his hand and scratches on his head, and it makes the sound of like nails scratching against nylon or something like that, and sort of like yes. Show yourselves around. Yes, it's quite safe here.
And you trust us strangers in your home?
Welcome to my home. It's lovely to have you. I think the servants.
Can we stop confusing the senile creepy man?
I think they must have retired, or maybe gone to market. Yes, maybe they've
gone to market.
Please
yes.
Show yourself around and help yourself from this lovely food. And he picks up what appears to be some kind of meat on a bone. And as he sort of like picks the bone up, the meat just sort of like slips off it and sort of like goes like that. And he sort of like picks up the bone and sort of like, and then just sort of like turns around, puts it in his mouth, and sort of like sucks it. And he goes, oh yeah, very nice. Hello, welcome.
How long have you been?
Hello,
Oh, okay, never
welcome
mind.
to my humble abode. It's lovely to have you here. Servants! Oh, I think they might have retired or maybe gone to market. I'm not...
Certainly, the market.
Okay.
How can I help?
I'll instead of responding to him, I'll just glance at Kana and kind of give a whatever look, and then move
ask
over
him
to
if
my
he has like a
comrades.
jewelry closet or something.
I just walk over to my friends. I don't think we're going to get anywhere with him,
No.
and I don't think any questions.
Saddled.
No.
Well, Theron will stand up from his hiding place and he will say, "My good man, I tell you what, have you got something that we're looking for?"
Hello, welcome.
Well,
Welcome to my abode.
No.
Servants! Servants!
You said that already, my friend.
I think
I-
they are
I've
retired.
heard of a MacGuffin.
Oh, what?
A MacGuffin. MacGuffin.
Oh, you... Oh.
Somebody who knows something about this place said you had a MacGuffin here, and we're looking for one.
Maybe it's in my father's tower. Most things are in my father's tower.
Oh, are you Fallon's son?
Who's my father?
It's Fallon. If this is your tower, your father's tower, then this is Fallon's tower, isn't it?
Hello! Welcome!
No. Don't worry
It's
about that, my
lovely to
friend.
have
Ask
you.
him
Don't
where
worry.
his father's tower is. Ask him where...
Servants!
Where's your father's tower?
He says, and he sort of like points to one of the four corners of the room, and you notice that there's a door out of each of the corners of this great hall, and he sort of like says, I think it's to the north. He says, he turns round and starts to sort of like slowly scuff his way to the door, to the corridor that he actually entered into.
Before he goes, sorry, can I take my fiddle, and I'd like to play just a random but good tune. And just see if that inspires anything.
Roll your...
knowing that Fallon was a fiddler.
Yeah.
That sounds so bad.
Just roll your musicianship before you...
Yeah.
Have you got another...
Dig myself in deeper.
Are you performing?
I don't need it.
Are you...
No, I'm just going to go on the
Oh,
room.
how disappointing.
No.
It's now formidable.
Well, that's okay then.
You sort of like start to... Is it a fiddle that you have?
Yes, a fiddle, yes. Yeah.
So you start to play this fiddle, and he sort of like says, he stops just as he gets to the doorway and says, I think my father is playing, or maybe my sister. I will go and find out. Yes, help yourself to food. And he sort of like goes down to the doorway and sort of like scuffs through it, and you hear the door click behind him as if it's going into place.
And I'll stop playing and I'll say, well, if he's going to find his father or his sister, should we follow him?
Pretty
I don't know if
confident.
he's-
I'm pretty confident they're not around, nor are they alive. I'm just...
How long do you think you can survive off of rotten food?
I don't know. They've eaten raw food.
Would you say, point towards the old man as he's probably walking away, you think that's surviving?
Bad.
Yeah. How about this? North Tower, which one is it?
It will be the one that he... Well, basically, you've got northeast, northwest, southeast,
Got it.
southwest. So it's either going to be the one that he went to, or the one sort of like opposite at the other end.
You want to just follow him then, guys?
I think that's best.
Ladies?
Yeah.
That's fine. He's the only person here, so like, let's crack on and see what he's doing.
All right. Let's.
Okay, so you.
I'll let you guys lead. I'm not leading this party.
I'll lead with my shield and hopefully have Connor right behind me with the torch.
Okay.
I will actually, since we're following the old man, my shield won't be held out, but I still have it equipped.
So you.
Admit, you've been with us a long time, my love, so you be fine.
All right,
You
my
stick by
love.
me.
But won't have Bruce Forsyth then.
Oh,
All right, my love.
oh, lower, higher.
Hiya! The American people. I'm thinking, what?
What the hell?
Yeah, so you get to the doors clicked shut, Freya, but you'll be able to open it with still your shield and sword drawn if that's what you wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sort of like open it and it sort of like opens away from the main hall, and you can see that just inside it seems to be some kind of a kitchen. It doesn't look like it's being used at all. There seems to be almost like the pots and pans are in there. There's this weird smell because it's almost as if you figure the food might still be in here, in the pots. Is the plan to go in or not?
Do we see the old man?
No, there is one other door out of here though. So you're it would go sort of like to your left or to your right.
Is it like a close door where the speed he was shuffling would kind of make sense, or is it a ways away where?
You would be surprised with his speed that he was shuffling in. You would be really surprised that he's not in this room. He almost like should be in this room.
Okay. Everybody, keep close. I don't like what's going on in this house. Connor, do you feel anything? Any dangers? Or is it still a static?
Connor will think for a moment, and she'll cast Witch Sight again in the room.
Yeah, roll your folk magic. Yeah, you try to sort of like see beyond, but there seems to be this almost like this background count that is stopping you seeing truly, and your failed spell just fails, and that's it.
I can't see anything. There's just too much magic around everywhere. I can't differentiate anything. It's just all. Yeah, no, I can't see anything.
So you can
very convenient.
So
all right,
there's two doors out it, one on your left, one on your right.
The
one north and south.
Want to head to the north one?
Yep, I will lead to the north one.
All right.
Okay, so you open, you get to that, and just to let you know, once you get into this room, yeah, it looks as if there was loads of food being prepped and stored. So things like big copper pots have sort of like soup in that's all separated out, and the fat's on the top. And there looks like there was some kind of animal roasting on a spit over a now out fire. But it just sort of like, it's all moldy and it's sort of like dripping off, if that makes sense. It's just sort of like dripping, and all the water, if you see any water, it looks quite murky and damp and dark, and you open the door to the north, and you can see it seems to go into a great hall, very similar to the first one you came in. It has a huge table and a hearth in there as well.
Two hearths? Is that normal in a castle? I'll ask the group, I guess.
Oh, okay. This isn't a castle. This is a Broch. No.
You're right. Well, to be fair, you would need as many halves you need to warm up a room, wouldn't you?
Mm.
Every room would have a half.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I suppose so.
Essentially, this building is supposed to be a giant chimney, anyways.
Yeah, that is true.
Yes.
I suppose we better keep marching on wherever this
Keep marching.
guy went to.
Or was he even there? Ooh.
Yeah.
Just- Can I have a look at the floor
Yeah,
and see?
it's a
I'm assuming this place is mouldy, it's deserted.
yeah.
Is there just detritus on the floor?
No, not at all.
Oh,
You don't think anything. The only sense of decay that you have is from the food.
no.
It doesn't seem to be any dust or like dead skin cells or anything like that. The floor's probably the cleanest part of the whole kitchen.
Oh,
Interesting.
So
that's
through the north door then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you leave the kitchen, and as you move through it into the second hall, the door behind you, and as you walked into the kitchen, the door closed as well, clicked shut. So you seem to be in a very long hall. Your torchlight is not revealing the roof up at the top. There seems to be a long table that seems to be prepped for some kind of a banquet. There's mouldy food on it, and it looks like it's been decaying over years. Off to one side, there's a huge hearth that seems to be empty and cold. And now opposite it, there seems to be a tapestry hanging from the wall. And there seems to be 4 doors out, 2, so like northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest.
Is there a wood pile next to the fireplace?
No, but you do see the signs of somebody holding a candle coming down from the north eastern sort of like corridor.
Oh, hang on.
I think that's our guy.
Have we just have we gone back ourselves?
Have we gone back to the main hall?
Yeah, what's behind us? So in this room,
the double doors to outside.
Huh.
So and there's food on the table, rotten.
Hello, welcome. Hello, welcome.
Man.
And he sort of like stumbles.
Hello, my
over,
man.
Oh, servants! Servants! Oh, I think they have retired.
We're here.
and gone
We are
to
the
bed.
we are the servants. We're fine.
Oh. And he walks over to the table and he picks up what appears to be some kind of mouldy apple, and he sort of like takes a bite out of it, and it just decays, and he sort of like goes and sort of like pushes it back in, and he's like, welcome. I'm afraid the servants are not here. Please show yourselves around.
Thank you, mate. We will show ourselves around. Thank you for all your help.
Yes, not a problem. Thank you. And he goes slipping and sliding to the northeastern door.
Should we try the northwestern door this time?
No, let's
follow him before the door closes.
Yes.
Okay.
And Freya's gonna rush to keep in. If she has to use her sword to block the door,
I'll chop her
if
in
he's trying
half.
Yeah, so you
chop
sort
him in
of
half.
like rush forwards. Make me an athletics roll. Is it an athletics or acrobatics? I always forget.
Athletics is the standard. Acrobatics would be professional.
Yeah, so athletics, because you'll have that, or acrobatics if you want to.
I got a formidable
Nice.
for athletics.
Sorry, I was. Yeah, so you dash forward, and just as the door's about to click forward, you sort of like put your sword in or something, or your foot, and it prevents it from closing, and you just go like that.
Nice.
Hoping that my group's behind me, I'll
Yes, we were
push it forward all the way.
Bloody good job.
and then continue the chase, presumably.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you step into a room that seems to have numerous shelves around it. There seems to be a whole load of potion bottles and glass bottles all over. There seems to be some kind of alchemy going on in this room. There seems to be those circular sort of like glass with the tube coming down, and there seems to be sort of like liquids and labels all over it. There's two doors out of here. One goes to the north, one goes to the south.
Is the old guy in here, though?
No.
Freya's just going to make an indignant noise then.
Does anything seem to be like currently brewing in the alchemy shop?
No, everything seems to be very quiet. There does seem to be some labels. There seems to be about three or four little glass vials that seem to have labels on them. They seem to be corked and sealed with wax.
Are labels readable? Are they in a common language?
You should have a literacy skill. If you've got a literacy skill, then you should be able to read.
Could I try and help and like give him my literacy as an augment?
If you've both got literacy skills, then by all means you can.
That'd be, I believe I give you an 8 when my literacy is 38.
I'm trying to see. I'm not seeing the literacy. I just have a native tongue. I don't see anything.
All right. So, Freya, you might just be rolling yourself then, unless somebody else has it.
Is it professional or?
It's professional.
I don't have it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the only one who might be able to read. Let me give it a try.
Okay, then. Yeah.
36 to 38.
Okay then. So there's 4 things on the words on the bottle. The first one says salve of healing. The next one says sleeping draft. Next one says pay-oot extract. And I think it's meant to say pay root, but I spelt it wrong. Extract. And finally, the final one says snake root juice. So salve of healing, sleeping draft, pay root extract, and snake root juice.
I don't know what any of that means. So
I think based on how brutally injured you got in the last job, Demi, maybe you should hold on to this salve of healing.
Okay. All right.
We all know what happened, except Colin.
Yeah, it's okay. Fine, thank you.
As for the rest, I have no idea.
Yeah, I'll add that to my things.
Well, I tell you what, you look after them, Freya, because you're the most knowledgeable person of us. You'll be able to know what the work. Maybe you can sell and make a couple of silver pieces.
Well, I mean, considering that if we have any demons or monsters or bandits that jump out at us, they're going to be hitting me. I don't really want snake juice on me getting broken.
Well, do you know what snake juice does?
Sounds like venom to me.
Well,
Maybe it makes you slippery. I don't know.
yeah, who knows? Maybe strengthen the snake.
All right. So take a step back. From what I understand, we don't know what door this old man went through again, correct?
Yeah, correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Why don't we? Why little thing comes to me, because we went through that door and we ended back where we started from. And we all went through it. Why don't 2 of us go through one door and 2 of us go through the other door?
So we're suggesting a split up.
Let's the worst thing you possibly do in a situation like this. But it seems to me the only solution is to split up.
All right. Well, apparently these two are tethered by some imaginary strings. So I think Freya and the the fortune teller should go together.
I agree.
Us two go somewhere else.
I totally agree. Freya, you okay with looking after Kanda?
Yeah, well, if, our
okay?
fortunes are intertwined, so it's probably best for all of our sake if her and I stay together.
Well, that's great. The problem is you've got a torch and we don't. Do I have a torch? I tell you what I'll do. I'll take a candlestick.
There we
See
go.
what happens from there.
Yeah.
So I'll take a candlestick, and myself and Admi will go through the other door they go through.
Okay then.
Before we split up, though, I'm sorry to interrupt you, animals. Before we split up, if you make it back to the main room, I think you should wait there until the other party arrives.
I totally agree.
Agreed. All right, ready?
So which door are you going through?
We should go north. They should go south.
That sounds like a very good thing.
Okay then.
Okay.
So we go north, they go south.
So you open both of the doors, and behind each door there stretches out a long corridor. It's quite unnerving because it suddenly dawns on you that the length of this corridor would not fit in the Broch. It's as if all this corridor is some kind of strange illusion, and it's really very small, but it looks incredibly long.
Okay.
Well, that's not bleeding possible. We saw how big it was on the outside. Can't be this big on the inside. Where the chuff does this go?
Are we underground a bit, you think? What I'm trying to
Well, I don't know, because it's bloody weird to me.
Yeah.
I like to see things as they are, but this is not looking how it is it really?
Just watch where you step. Make sure that none of these stones give out or anything.
No, we'll have a look. Yeah. So, as Admi says that, I will take a look at the floor to make sure I'm happy with what I'm wearing.
The floor looks absolutely fine. It just looks like flagstones, and that's it.
All right.
We should
out of both of us, you're the bigger one, so I'll have you go first.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay,
I'm not that big.
So
I'll move forward with my battle axe.
You sort of like both you step through the door and start walking down the corridor.
Yes.
Yeah, you feel that it's on a little bit of a on a descent, on an angle.
It's okay.
And
like a ramp.
After you've sort of like taken a couple of steps down the corridor, something happens. What about Mr. Pickles and Longshanks? Because you're going the other way. Sorry, Freya and Kanna, are you going down the other way?
Yes. And Freya's trying to calm Kanna probably by talking about how her home only had one hearth, and that's where the family goes to, and she thinks it's odd there's two hearths because how did that be servants?
With me and my my parents were alive. We only had one hearth in the house.
Okay.
As well.
So you sort of like head down there, and you sort of like, after a few steps, both parties, you look round, and the door that you came through is now shut. You don't remember shutting it, but it's definitely shut now. And you probably hear it click close. And as you hear it click close, you sort of like have a look around, and the door is shut. And Theron, you in your corridor, as the door clicks close, you notice almost like in a ripple effect. So you both notice this. In a ripple effect, it sort of goes like that, and as it ripples down, weapons appear down on the wall. They seem to be hooked onto things. There's swords, there's battle axes, there's daggers, there's shields, there's bows, and they all seem to be just stretching down the wall. Many of them seem to glint off your candlelight as if they're fine and well polished, and you can see that goes down, and you're going to have to go through down this corridor. At the end you can see a door, and you're not too sure if you could see that door before, but you do feel the sense that you're going north, and that this would, if you are going north, because you came north from the previous room, this would lead you to the north tower. I'll come back to you guys in a second. South corridor people, you step through it and the door closes just the same, and you're stood in this corridor, and you're not too sure if you didn't see it before or it wasn't there. You notice there's a door at the far end that sort of like comes into existence, and you sort of like look around, and it seems totally silent in this corridor. And then Freya, you hear someone. You hear a voice. It sounds as if it's Canna's voice from behind you, and you hear her say, "There's no point being with her. She's a whole load of rubbish. Some good she is."
Excuse me, Canna?
Sorry, I didn't say anything.
I don't know what that has to do with Hearths in the family.
Sorry, what's got to do with Hearths and the family?
You just said that.
I didn't say anything.
Right. I just heard. Well, maybe it was an echo from Hall. The old man did say his sister is about.
Why? What happened? Did someone say something? And Canna's like starting to. She's glancing behind and peering around Fred to see if she can see someone in the front.
No, it seems to be no one there at all.
It sounded like you saying rubbish about me.
Why would I say that? I've only just met you.
That's why it was suspicious.
Well, I didn't say anything.
Right.
Oh, you
Must be the magic of the building. I guess I'll continue going on after giving a stare down.
She looks more like a cauldron in that place. Look at her. She thinks she's so self-righteous just because she's got an axe to wield and a shield. Who does she think she is?
And then Freya hears this, correct?
Yeah.
Freya's gonna keep marching and try not to cry.
Look at this. She even walks straight. Notice how her arse goes back and forward. Bloody widow.
I'm gonna slowly turn around at that point. Just stare at Kana.
What's wrong, Freya?
Look, I wear this armor for a very particular reason. Our line of work is dangerous.
That
Just ask Ademi. He got his leg borderline ripped off last time because he thought he could jump from wagons.
Well,
Her
her leg seems fine, but yeah, that's fine. I mean, I would expect someone to wear armor in your line of work. It can be dangerous.
I don't care how it makes me look.
But are you hearing voices? Are you all right?
Perfectly fine.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely not saying anything. So, but if you hear any more voices, let me know, and I'll see if anything's going on again.
Yeah, but every time I turn away from you, I seem to hear something.
But perhaps I should go in the front and then.
that what you want? To lead from the front? I don't
Not
see you
really,
bearing much
but-
armor. If there's bandits afoot, you are going to go down in just one strike, one
Not
shot of a
really,
crossbow
but
bolt.
If it will put your mind at rest, because I'm not saying anything about you. If me leading will put your mind at rest, I'm happy to.
No, that wouldn't be right. I'll keep leading.
Okay.
Okay, so you head off down, and as Freya turns away and starts to walk, Canna, you hear the voice. Freya, you do not hear this time.
She left on the bloody streets. She's no good at all in a farm. Look at her. Looks like she's wearing a potato sack.
You just hear a slight sniff from Canna, and her eyes go very, very wide, and say, "That's not very nice."
That's what I was saying.
But you didn't have to get all nasty.
Not. Okay, look. I do apologize for my terse words here. I thought you were saying mean things,
But
so I had to confront you. I apologize for that.
you
Perhaps
said
we
you
should-
should have left me on the street. No, that's not as well. I mean, just because I live on the streets and have to scrape money together to try and stay in the tavern every so often, so I have a roof over my head, doesn't mean you should be nasty to me about it.
Nasty to you about it. I see a lot of myself in you. It was other comrades who raised me from my life as a daughter of a shepherd. Wait,
I think something's playing with us, because I heard you say things that you said you didn't say, and you've been hearing lots of things that you think I said, but I haven't said them. I think
You then hear in both your minds at the same time, simultaneously, you hear the voice, and it says, "Slap her." Could you make willpower checks for me, please?
I'm going to use a luck point and re-roll that.
Why? Oh yes, because you're full.
Because I'm on hard.
Yeah, I forgot you're fatigued. Yes. Yeah. So you hear this voice that sort of slap her, and you both sort of like go to do it, but then you suddenly sort of like think, "Hang on a minute, what's going on here?" You know, and it suddenly comes to your brains, and you sort of like think, "This is madness. Why are people? What's happening in here?" And I'm going to dash back to the previous alleyway, the other corridor. Are you guys walking down the corridor?
Yeah. I do
Very
have a question.
close.
I do have a question in regards the weapons on the wall. Are they like essentially old tarnished weapons,
No.
or do they look like, oh wow, that's actually kind of a nice dagger or whatnot?
They look incredibly shiny, incredibly well preserved.
All right. Let's see. Hold on. I was wondering maybe I can approach one of the daggers on the wall. That looks shiny, well preserved, and all that.
Yeah.
Nice beauty to it. I would imagine it would be a perception check to see if there's anything connected to it. Maybe if it's like booby trapped or anything.
Yeah, by all means.
All right, that'll be a perception check.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try that. See what happens. Oh, nope. All right.
Do you wish to use a point of luck? Because you could reverse it to get 0.8, and in which case it would be a success.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to use my last luck for that.
Oh, there goes. I always like it when the last look goes because you can now not change your.
And this is when Inwills instigates combat.
You also know when the game's when the night's finished because Longshanks.
Yeah, Longshanks normally does it 9:59 just before.
Game over.
Yeah, there seems to be. It seems to be. If it makes sense, it looks like there's two prongs sticking out of the wall, and it's sort of like resting in with its hilt on it.
But there's no.
There seems to be nothing. It just seems to be there.
I look at Medivac real quick, and just kind of like point towards it, say, "Should I?"
Theron will look back at.
Let's go. Cast a coin to the Witcher.
And say, do you know what? Why would you need what you've already got? If you've got a dagger, why would you need another one?
It's a nicer looking dagger.
Prettier isn't always better. Let's put it this way. You know, these women you see in the taverns look beautiful and shiny and all fleshy and lovely, but they ain't always better than what you got at home. So keep what you got. Don't touch what's on the wall at the moment. And maybe they're still there when we come back. We'll have a look. Me and you will come down here. We'll have a proper look. I don't see why not, because they're there to take. But
Fine.
If they're here now, we don't really carry them up there. Do we now, Rudy?
All right, we'll come back to this, but
the dagger,
I want this one.
The dagger does look extremely well made, and it looks like it's miles better than your dagger. You know, this could be some kind of fable weapon that is actually, you know, being here. It's almost as if it's calling to you.
It looks good. This looks like it would actually go well with my belt. Let's see.
Yeah, if it's for your belt, fair enough.
It's aesthetically pleasing. Plus, mine's dull at this point. I've been using the same daggers for years.
But it's shiny again. It's shiny good because you'll be hiding. You'll be going through the shadows, ducking and diving, wheeling and dealing. No, maybe not. I mean, if you want it, you take it. The choice is totally yours. I wouldn't, because I love what I've got. My stuff here, I wouldn't part with because it saved my life so many times, and I love them.
Fine. I'm gonna follow what you said.
The choice is yours. I
know, of course, it's my choice. Of course.
Exactly.
Of course.
I've been with you a while now. If you need a new weapon, you just take a new weapon.
You want to take it or leave it?
I'm going to leave it.
Okay, willpower check, please.
Okay.
At the bottom of the standard skill. You sort of like look at it and you start to move away and you sort of like think, that is so important. And then you sort of like bring yourself back under control and sort of like start to walk forward. And no sooner have you walked past it that both of you notice something happening. The weapons start to shake somewhat. And then in front of you and behind you, a sword and an axe for both of you sort of like shake and come off the wall. But instead of clattering to the floor, they come off the wall, turn themselves round so the hilt is downward, and angle it themselves towards you.
Okay.
And then they start to move. So can you please roll for me? Hang on, let me just get the I'll pop you into the chat, so into the order, so don't worry about that. If you just
Okay.
so yeah, roll your initiatives. It should be up at the top in the middle. It will automatically add everything on. You just press the dice, I think. Yes. Yeah.
All right,
I
initiative.
got a crit.
It's if you
Up in the
see what your
middle.
characteristics are, it's in the attributes column next to it, and there's a little.
Yep.
It should just say underneath like your healing rate.
All right, got it.
Yep. Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So Theron, you've got 20. Nice.
Nice. It's
one.
nice. I know it's nice having this high initiative.
Nice.
Has 14. And I'm going to put all the weapons on the same. They're going to all literally have the same initiative.
That's awesome. 0.
And this is my D10 coming up. Oh, no, it's close.
Oh!
They go on 10.
Awesome. Not. Yes.
Okay, so just to let you know, Captain, you should, in the same place as you had your initiative, there should be action points. So action points are what you,
Right at the very top.
what you use for everything per combat round. So we start on round 1, turn 1. When it comes to you in the order, you use an action point to do something. So if you want to draw a weapon, that's an action point. If you want to hit somebody, that's an action point. In this system, there's no armor class. You parry with your weapon skill if you wish. Okay, but that would take an action. So if you were going to hit one of these blades, that would take an action to hit it. I would then use up an action point to parry. Okay, and then we would come to my turn, so forth and so on. Once we've gone through combat turn 1, we go back up to the top and we keep going through until everybody's used their action points up. Then we go on to round 2. Your action points are refreshed and then it's going again. So you need to keep an eye on your action points. If you do better than me, then you
On the roll.
So say for example, you roll beneath your combat style, and I fail mine. Then you get you roll for a hit location, and you are allowed a special. Okay, and a special, as long as there's a difference of 1 tier grade between us, you get a special roll. So a special roll could either be what are the popular ones are things like choose location, so you can choose to hit the head. You have got on
Press
yours
advantage.
So if you press advantage, that means that I cannot attack on my next round. I have to defend. Okay, so a lot of people sort of like press advantage. You could do things like grip. You can sort of like use the unarmed combat to grab somebody's arm. You'll notice that on your character sheet it will say notes, and it says bleed, impale, and stun. So bleed means that at the end of the round, I take 1 level in fatigue if I fail my endurance roll. Impale means that if you use you hit, you impale, it means that you roll your damage twice and you take the highest one of those 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the mob, or you, if you're impaled, everything's at a higher level of difficulty until you pull it out. Okay, which takes an action. When you pull it out, or the monster pulls it out, you take half that hit points again.
Sometimes it takes three rounds to pull it out.
Yeah. So on your character sheet, you will notice that you have APs, which is armor points. So on your location, when you sort of like, if I try to hit you, I will always take that point of damage off before it comes through to you. And your hit points are the amount of hit points that limb has or head. Above 0, you're fine. Below 0, but not as far as -5, you're in trouble. If it goes to more than -5 on your head or -7 on your chest, if it goes to that, that's a major wound, and generally means that if you fail your roll, you'll either be dead, straight out, no save, or your arm's been chopped off.
Got it.
Okay, so it's not.
It's a brutal system. Combat.
It's
dangerous.
Honestly, it's just a flesh wound. You know, it's.
Yeah.
Luckily, you got Baltaby with you, who's
It's a scratch.
Pop.
luckily you got Baltaby with you, who's a really good.
Oh
wait.
no.
That's a different group. Bartleby's
Different
not here to
group.
protect people.
But it's the other one.
no.
Noticed.
Okay, so we're going to leave you two there, and and deciding what to do. So I tend to do this a lot. If you get into a situation, I'll switch to the other people if you split up the party. Not that this party ever splits themselves up.
Ever. This is the first time.
So you've got some time to think about what you'd like to do. So back to the other two.
I think in this case, since we can't trust what we're hearing, perhaps we should trudge on and both agree not to say anything. That way we know that none of us are saying anything about the other.
That's a good idea. I just want to try something first, if that's all right. Or maybe a couple of things first, depending on what happens. And she will will cast Witch Sight again, see if there's anything lurking in the corridor. So that's what she's casting, and I hit the wrong button, and that's what I meant to cast.
No.
I got a 62 on a 27 hard, so I failed.
Okay then, so you nothing at all. You can't see anything.
I still can't see anything, which either means it's not in this room, or the whole place has just got so much magic. I just can't tell it apart. I don't know. I think we should press on to the end of the corridor, and hopefully it won't follow us, whatever it is.
Well then, until we get to the end of the corridor, agreement to not say anything.
I agreed.
If you need to communicate, just give me a tap on the shoulder.
I will do.
Okay then, so you get to the door at the end. It doesn't seem to be locked. Are you going into the room?
I'll pull the door open and look into the room.
It seems to be some kind of library.
Ooh, things to read. One of my favorites. I'll walk on into the room then.
I never learnt. Can I touch tap Freya on the shoulder and say, I never learnt.
Well, there's as you walk in, the door clicks shut behind you, and there is another door out here off to your right, but there's a big table in the middle, and it seems to have one book open right in the middle, then sort of like piles of scrolls and everything like this, and there seems to be books over the walls, but there seems to be a quill sort of like lying across this open book.
I'll sheath my sword and go over to investigate this book.
Yeah. Do you have literacy?
I do.
Yeah, just roll it. You'll be able to read it. I'm just trying to find out how much information you actually find. Oh, nice. So it seems to be some kind of journal. And you sort of like flick through, and it seems to be Fallon's journal. It talks about several things: his interest in magic, his idea that how proud he is of his workshop, and also the love for his wife Cyril that you saw on the gravestone earlier. And it seems to talk about this idea that he has found out something, and it's something like this last bit reads, the Codex has revealed to me the meaning of the secret sign. With the knowledge of gateways and the power of this place, I can use the sign to call. If an answer comes, there is no limit to what might be learned.
I'll have been reading that out to Kana, so she knows the same thing.
And it almost like just finishes like that. I've put it into Discord, so you've got it.
Thank you.
And it just seems to finish like that. It's almost like he was literally writing it and the ink stopped exactly there. Can you both make for me perception rolls?
Can I use my last point of luck to reroll?
Yep, by all means.
I made a perception roll.
On hard
This
as well.
is beautiful. I love this. I never make perception rolls.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're busy reading this, and kind of you're sort of like listening to Freya read it out to you, and all of a sudden you see something out the corner of your eye, a movement, and you sort of like look round and you see coming towards you a book hurtling itself through the from the one of the bookcases straight past you, and luckily you sort of like see it, you go and you sort of go, look out, and as you shout look out, Freya, you sort of like stand up and this book just whacks you into your chest.
You hear the jingling of ring mail.
Just to let you know, it would have hit your head. But now that you've moved up, it was coming straight for you. But now that you stood up, it's whacked your chest. And you take 3 points of damage.
I've got four armor of ring.
Yeah, so it just sort of like whacks onto your ring mail and collapses to the floor. But as you both look up, you notice that all of a sudden books round about the wall have started to shake. Can you roll for me initiative, please?
Yes.
So Freya. Freya gets 21. Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, well, I'm not Bartleby today.
Yeah.
Papa Deuce.
I actually get to go first, maybe.
Right, let's just move these into order. And the weapons and the books will go at the same time. So that seems to be a perfect place to leave it for tonight. It says coming up to 10 o'clock because we always play till 10. Because once we get into combat, this will take some time. We'll have simultaneous combat at either side. So we will follow the same combat order, turns, etc. Weapons and books will go on 10. And just so you both have actions to go on. So just to reiterate whereabouts you are, two of you are in going down a corridor that you've got weapons that a dagger tried to get you to take it, and then the other two had almost like paranoia setting in but managed to shrug it off, found a library with a mysterious journal, but it would appear now that you have books about to attack you. And we will leave it there until next week. So it's time, if you're not used to combat specials, to have a good read of them. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for participating in the adventure. Thank you very much to everybody who's watching at this moment in time. Do come back next Saturday when we will encounter what will actually happen as both groups burst into combat, and that'll be the first thing that we do next week. There'll be no introductions or anything. I'll give a quick synopsis and we're straight in there. So do come along and see us next time. Does anybody have any announcements that they would like to make?
I'm a woman. No.
Still. Sorry, was that?
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Respect your life choices. That's fine.
Yeah, and we well.
You know.
Yeah. So.
A boy without a tinkle.
Anybody else want to claim gender fluidity or anything like that? Or are you all happy?
No announcements from me.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for coming along and joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. If you missed any tonight's adventure, don't forget that it will be up on YouTube, so you can watch it all. So until next time, please remember to be who you are and say what you think, because the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. Have fun, everyone, and we will catch you later. And until then, goodbye. Say goodbye.
Bye.
This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved.